right, I spoke to Dillon Danis. I spoke to Dillon at length yesterday. You know, he's in his hotel. He's out in London. He's got some time on his hands. We're catching up a little bit. It was his birthday. In front of everything else, I was calling to wish him a very happy birthday. He says, hey, did you watch the press conference? And I knew that had happened because some clips had come out. I even was in my studio yesterday watching the clip, and I made a piece on it about John Fury. But I must disclose the clip that I saw, Mams had put out on the Misfit Boxing X. I don't like to say X. Twitter. I feel like you guys don't know what I'm talking about when I say X. Right? But he posted this on the platform. So I got about 18 seconds is my point. And then there's another one. You got about that 15 to 20 seconds. So I've watched a couple of them. I get a pretty good feel for what's going on. It wasn't something I needed words to understand. You had an angry, or at least the presentation of the character that John was playing at the time was that of an angry man knocking tables over. But what I didn't fully understand until I had spoke to Dillon. So Dillon says, hey, did you watch it? I said, no. I said, you know what? Let me do it right now. I'm going to call you back. So I spent about 45, 50 minutes, and I must tell you, it was awesome. I mean, it really was awesome. There's things that go into press conferences that get overlooked. Like, Bellator is the masters of this, truly, which is having a PR team that makes the press conference look beautiful. There is something about that. Like, if you have the old wrinkly backdrop, it's called a step and repeat, what you guys would know as a backdrop. If you got that old wrinkly one that's like made out of plastic and it was rolled up and somebody clearly hung it, like whatever comes out of their mouth or whatever happens, it's going to be perceived in a way that's less than great. It looks sloppy. One thing you don't ever want to look is sloppy. Sloppy it's one of the dirtiest words there is, right? If somebody tells you you're sloppy, it's bad. It's a bad insult. It doesn't sound it right. It almost sounds kind of cute, like sloppy. It's not. In the world of business, it's bad. And I got to give this to Mams and the Misfits guys. Their stuff looks sharp. So right away, you've got people's attention. Then they do such a good job that they have a respect from their own athletes. How do I know that? Because they show up. How do you know when a coach is respected? Very simple. Chuck Kearney explained this to me. You want to know what a coach knows when he's expected? When he calls a 6:30 workout, 6 a.m., we're going to do sprints. Does the team come or not? That's the test. And when the whole team comes at 6:30 to go run sprints, which is the last thing they want to do while they're tired college kids, they respect the coach. I'm telling you, these athletes, these are stars. Logan Paul, these are stars. KSI, these are massive stars. 2 generations of boxing's first family, that of the Furies. First family's probably the Mayweathers, but you get my point. Let me do my little rant here. I'm just sharing. I mean, this is a really big deal. Then you have Dillon Danis, who absolutely stole the show. I mean, he was on fire. Dillon has not been happy since that whole thing happened with KSI. And I don't know why Dillon won't tell you guys what really happened there. I know what happened because he shared it with me, but it's not my story. If you knew what really happened there, you would fully understand why that fight didn't happen. And it wasn't his fault, and he took it on the chin. I'm talking about Dillon. He took it all on the chin. And I'm just sharing with you. All of that energy that he had for KSI, bundled with all the energy that he got from the negative reinforcements that he got online, it was all coming out. He was fire. He was killing it yesterday. And John Fury interrupted it. That's my entire point. They're getting their flow going, and not for nothing. I mean, Logan's holding his own. KSI's up there doing what he does, and not to mention he looks cool. Like, KSI's one of those guys that he just looks cool. You could just take a picture of him, and that's it. You don't even have to have him talk. Like, a picture's worth 1,000 words. He always looks the part. He just does, right? And then you got this, Tommy Fury's up there. He's doing his thing. And Tommy Fury isn't half bad at this. He's scared to box boxers, but he's not scared to box. Like, you're walking down the street and you call him, he will not be scared to box you. If he finds out you're a boxer, he might not want to do it. I'm just sharing, but it's one of these things, and he was even at his best. And that might have sounded like a backhanded compliment. Well, I suppose it was, but it was meant just as a straightforward compliment. I'm saying everybody's in their zone. Everybody's doing what they do. And then old man Fury shows up, apparently drunked up, and kicks over some tables, and it ends the entire press conference. Well, when that happens, they get Dillon into the back. Now, Dillon's doing nothing more than performing, by the way. Like, Dillon had a chair. He could have thrown, but a chair could poke somebody in the eye. A chair can't really be controlled. A chair could hurt somebody. And Dillon's not a mean person. So he picks the chair up to get the camera shot, and he puts the chair right back down. Like, these things about Dillon are never seen. They're always missed. The one thing he throws was paramount to a water balloon. I quite frankly couldn't figure out what it was. It kind of splattered like a water balloon, but I know he didn't have a balloon, so it must have just been a bottle of water or even a bottle of Prime. My point is, they usher him off the stage as though he had done something wrong. As though he was the villain here. Okay, great. Fine. But when they take him off the stage, that interrupts the face-off. And a face-off is very important for a number of reasons. First off, for a piece of marketing, to go back to the adage I just used, a picture's worth 1,000 words. That face-off's a big deal. People get on a plane, they go all the way to London, they get in hotels, they wait, they spend their birthday alone in a hotel room to have this face-off because it's worth it. It's that big of a deal. And he didn't get it. And so not only did he not get it, what if something would have happened at the face-off? Every now and then, right, the opponent breaks bad on you, he grabs a hold of you, he wants to, he just can't contain himself. As annoying as that might be, you now felt him. And everything changes once you feel a guy. The whole mask, everything that you wonder, everything that you watch on TV and you're trying to break down, once you feel him, even if it's a grab, it's an over-under, north-south, but right there at the press conference on your feet, things change. And that opportunity was taken away. They ain't going to do it. But guess what did happen? They bring out Platinum Mike Perry. And they bring Mike Perry out to make it very clear that Logan Paul will be on the card. Logan will be competing and fighting. The plan is with Dillon. If that doesn't happen, Logan will still be there. So get your tickets now and mark it on your calendar. Oh, and by the way, you'll have Mike Perry if not. Now, this was just an awesome moment. Mike Perry comes out. He doesn't play too much into it. He doesn't need to, though. Perry's an interesting guy. There was an Instagram 5 years ago of Perry stopping his car on an interstate to save a turtle. I don't know that any words were spoken. I must have watched that 50 times. I must have shared it 50 times. Like, Perry's just interesting. Period. He's just, like, Perry. Mike Perry showed up to his last bare knuckle fight. He's fighting Luke Rockhold. Massive fight. Luke's a world champion. Massive fight. Main event. Such a big event. Not only is it completely sold out, Conor McGregor comes to take it in. It's a big deal. Perry shows up in a janitor's outfit. Now, I'm telling you guys the story because I don't think you know. I don't think there was ever a camera put on him as part of the production until he went to the ring. I could have that wrong. I was working it that night, so I didn't get to see the full production. But he shows up in a janitor's outfit, and I said, "What are you wearing?" He said, "I'm wearing a janitor's outfit because I'm getting ready to clean up." And as simple as that was, right? Like, there's just a brilliance in the simplicity that is Mike Perry. So Perry takes the microphone and he says, if anything happens to Dillon, this guys are a little bigger than I'm used to, but I'll be here and I'll fight. Yeah, I believe you. Like, we don't have to have anything else. I don't need to know anything more from Mike Perry. I believe him. But I also would be remiss if I did not give credit to Logan Paul for that. How would you guys like to do that? How would you like to have a killer like Dillon Danis across from you? We don't really know what to expect. Won world championships in jiu-jitsu. He's never lost in MMA. You know he's been in the room training boxing, but you haven't actually seen it. You don't actually have footage of it. So you can choose to dismiss him and you can choose to call him names, but you don't actually know. And the mystery is very intimidating. It truly is. So how would you like to be facing that if you're Logan? Knowing full well, if that guy pulls out, another killer is standing there waiting for me. I mean, how would you like that? That's a very tough spot. How do you train? How do you prepare? How do you know fully what you're getting into? How do you do those things? or you have a true competitor that actually wants to go out there and compete and he doesn't care. And I got to give Logan that credit. And I really do. I don't know if the roles were reversed, if anyone else would do it. Like, I don't know if Logan pulls out, if we can just expect Dillon to step in there with Perry. I don't know about that. I don't know if Logan pulls out, if we can just expect Perry to step in there with Dillon. Like, that's not what he's prepared for. But it's technically the position that he's in. Like, Perry's not brought in, from my understanding, speaking of Mams, he's not brought in to fight Logan if Dillon pulls out. He's brought in to intervene if anything with that fight falls apart, which means Dillon versus Perry is on the table. And that's not what either one of them wanted to do, right? Like, this is very personal for Dillon. So his motivation or his reason to want to box, if it's Perry, would of course be up for review.
Hey, quick question. Who would you rather see?
I just got asked a question by our producer, Ryan. He's saying, who would you rather see? Well, Ryan, it's interesting that you say that, because as I was saying that, I was kind of working that through in my head. That hadn't actually crossed my mind. I always thought, okay, well, if Dillon doesn't show up, and that's part of the storyline because of the way the KSI fight fell apart, then it will be Perry versus Logan. But excuse me, that's not what Perry's brought in for. Perry is brought in to fill in if either of those guys falls apart. And that does change things, doesn't it? It is very interesting to think about Perry versus Logan, because we now know how good Perry is, right? Like, before we say Logan's too big, okay, well, let me ask you a different question. Do you think that Logan Paul, as good and impressive as he could be, can beat Luke Rockhold? And you would say no. You would say, hell no, he can't beat Luke Rockhold. Well, Perry did. In fact, Perry stopped him. So all of a sudden, when you start doing this MMA math that people love to say doesn't work, it works all the time. It is the single greatest trajectory that we have. It's not a perfect science, but it's very effective. So now all of a sudden, you got a really interesting match. And I will tell you, as far as Dillon and Mike Perry, that's the one I would be least interested in, only because I know how personal the Paul brothers are to Dillon. That's what this is about. You could interchange them. You could bring in Jake instead of Logan. But to bring in somebody completely different, when it's a personal thing, this isn't I just want to go out there and box. It's a very personal thing towards those guys who have done things to Dillon in the past. I mean, I would just share with you, that's the match I want. I want to see, yes, what I want to see the most, I want to see Dillon, I want to see Logan as planned.